What's up, YouTube? Today I've got a video for you basically on a test of the real off-road capabilities of that board there. It's a Lycaon TRX 2.0. The board in the background is just my other Team GH5. So I have done this video previously, but I didn't add all the bits in. I couldn't be bothered video editing and filming all the other bits again and stuff like that. But I have technically completed it. There's no music and stuff like that, but there are some really good bits of footage I'm sure you want to see on this board being a very capable off-road board. And when I say off-road, I mean I've taken this board on a mountain, way up the mountain, way down the mountain, through a few streams, through some sand, lots and lots of cobbly parts, and it does the job, I can guarantee you that. But again, I'm not going to try and talk too much about it. I'll just, show you the video. If you want to see the unboxing video of this stuff, I'm sure you can find a lot of those online. I don't do that kind of stuff. But like I said, I just want to know that this board is capable of some serious off-roading. So it's a relatively cold day, and we're now heading up to the top of the mast on the TRX 2.0 with the 150 wheels on, which you can't get anymore. Anyway, we're relatively far up the mountain already. Over there is Rivington Pike, which is still a bit of a trek away. We'll get to that side later on this afternoon, hopefully. It's quite cold. We're going up the Mass Road, which is a long windy road uphill. Now the first part of this road basically is blocked now, and they've added some speed bumps, so it's good to have brakes coming down. But I'm going to do a bit of filming on this, so I'm testing my range on this board. I'm 94 kilograms currently. Quite heavy. Anyway, we're going to go up the hill. We're going to take it as far as it'll get, which I know doesn't get to the top, no problem whatsoever, and it gets down a decent amount of speed. So we're just going to push off uphill, and while going up this hill, still pretty fast. Still pretty fast. Speed bump. These are big, and they will get you. Oh crap. Yeah, I came down here one day and let's see if we can get a direct comparison in size. So that's quite a big bump. Remember, these are the 150 wheels. They're quite high off the ground. Even with that, you're just clearing the board there coming over this. Anyway, pressing onward. I should probably get one of those selfie stick thingies. I mean, I got one, but it's quite heavy. I don't like holding it while trying to ride, especially with slide gloves on. So I'm assuming it's quite windy. I don't know what it sounds like on camera just yet, but I'm assuming it's windy. So I'm going about 26 mile an hour uphill, which is quite good for my weight. Speed bump. Okay, carrying on. It tackles a hill like a dream. This isn't that steep an incline. I mean, it is steep compared to hills. Well, anyway, I'm not sure where you guys live. I'm telling you, it's quite a steep incline, but not as steep as the hill over there, which we will get to. What I want to do, because I haven't done this properly, is film a proper downhill and a proper off-road. When I say off-road, a lot of people love to go over little, bike parts and tracks. We're talking stuff like this, which I'll show you later because it is a fun experience. Now, I know a lot of people think about this as being a off-road board, but in terms of the off-roading that I like to do, you're probably going to want something like a tramper or something where you're bound to the board, because when you're going over bumps and rocks that are quite huge, you're literally not going to stay on the board. I don't care how good you are, and I don't claim to be the best or anything, but I know I'm quite capable of going over lots and lots of, big rocks, bumps, things like that.
But we are talking boulders that are the exact same size as the tire sometimes. So you either avoid them or you jump it. But you really can't jump on something like this simply because you've got nothing to strap you down to it. And of course, you basically aren't equipped on a board that can do something like that. But I can tell you what, this board will compete on a hill, on any dirt road or course like that, with a tramper or any, you know, custom built board that will, you know, handle a rock. When we're saying rocks, let's get a size comparison going here, because I'll show you this later, but it just makes sense. These are your normal road situations. So we got a few rocks here. This is a stone. This is something you rock somebody to sleep with. That's the kind of stuff you meet on a regular, proper mountain boarding session. I would like to put 200mm wheels, well, tires on these rims, which a friend of mine's got a tramper, and I'm going to see if I can't borrow just his spare sets of tires to go on those rims. If they fit, that's great. I'll relate that information back. But the board has enough power to handle bigger tires. You know, the information you can send to the board, we can adjust for all that. This is the kind of stuff most people think of when they say off-roading. That's probably as big as your bumps on the road is gonna get. Now that's not what we're talking about. We're going for the big boy stuff. We're literally taking this to the extreme. So enough of that nonsense. And like I said, pardon my fingers in the way. It's just more difficult with a selfie stick. You know what? Let me just try and get that out of the bag. Yeah, got rid of the stick. Didn't like it. Didn't like the camera looking at me. Okay, so we've been going about 15 odd minutes now, totally uphill. And we've now lost a bar on the board. Just one bar. Picking up quite a bit of speed now, hitting almost 30. So it is fast uphill still. You can see the road does unfold quite a bit. So I'm going to slow down a bit because all I can hear is the wind in my own ear. So coming down this road, when you hit about this part, and I've done this on just a regular longboard, at the very top coming down, you could max out at around 40 to almost 48 at certain parts. There's a lot of wind resistance against you coming down for some reason. There's some bits like this that I have gone over and literally took a horrible spill. This is why I don't own a tramper, because I would hate being attached to the board and falling. That's my worst nightmare, that will come off of the board. There's no snow, and snow does hurt as well. I like snowboarding, but you know what? To come off it in snow still and take a tumble, it's not great. If I'm gonna fall, hit the dirt or the ground, I won't be able to slide. So here we are, pretty much top of the mast. I don't go straight to the building, simply because there's a gate up there and there's a part where it's quite windy because we just break the very top of the hill. It's still a bit windy now. It is quite cold. It's about four I can't even speak anymore. About 4 degrees up here. Well, my watch is saying it's 5, but it definitely feels like 4 with the wind chilled. So, board made it up here. It's 3.2 miles of road to the top. Not too bad. It's probably a bit more if you go straight to the top, but no big deal. It's now dropped me to about half battery, which will fill back up because as I'm going downhill, you tend to pick up more speed. You don't have to use the control as much. Great tip, if you wanted to go faster downhill, loosen your belts quite a bit, because the belts do create a huge amount of drag with this. I've ran this exact same board, exact same setup downhill without the belts, and it goes a lot faster. Only difference is you got to use foot braking. I don't know how experienced people are, but on double kingpins with road tires like this and quite big, I think sliding is out of the question. You're probably not going to be able to slide this board to brake. If you do, it's just going to throw you off to the side as soon as it recoils. But yeah, up here now, sat relaxing. Oh yeah, I can do this. Boom, you can tell I don't use cameras that much. I am quite technical. Oh wait, my hands in front of the lens. Yeah, so up here now, just having to sit down, relaxing, waiting to go back down, just because it's too cold. My hands are freezing, using the control. I might wear gloves on this, but that's just a thing. So we're gonna do it downhill now, and we're gonna see what we max the speed out at with the belts on. So with the belts off, you can probably register about 50 mile an hour downhill without any issues. With the belts on, you're going to have a lot more drag on the board, so we need to look at doing things like, let's say, loosen the belts a bit. If you tighten your actual wheel nuts a bit too much, that will also, so yeah, wheel nuts. If you tighten those up too much, it's also going to create too much tension and force your knees to work harder. Now, I had asked Lycaon if it was okay to run the motors downhill without actually using the motors. Now, didn't really get a direct answer for that one, so I guess we'll find out. They're pretty cold to the touch still. They have ran for the entire time of getting here, which I did not really keep track of how long it took me to get here. But anyway, wear protection. I can't stress this enough. I know a lot of people do this kind of stuff and they wear nothing at all. I've got pads on. I've got pads on my knees, my elbows, slide pads, got my helmet on. I probably should be wearing a full face, but usually I don't have an issue when coming down to the ground. Anyway, I digress. We're going to start this mission. I'm going to see how fast we get, but I'm going to have to get past some people first. And then I'll try and get into my tuck position, see how much speed I can pick up. So, by the way, I'm not going to use the motor at all to power any of this run. It's just going to run with the control on so I can watch the speed. So, yeah, as soon as you pick up more speed, you'll know what I mean, because there'll be no point going off on that side of it. We're not trying to, as I say, use the control for anything but braking. Because yes, I can use my foot braking, ruins my shoes. Apart from that, there's not really much hope for you. As I said, you won't be sliding with this board. Don't attempt it. I have tried. I've been launched off it every single time I've tried. Now, some people might be skilled enough, but unless you're riding other wheels that are much more hard and slippery, you're not going to do it with tires. I like the tire, I like the feel of it. And we've got a dog and two people coming up. Now, this is the issue. If I were doing this on a normal longboard, I'd be sliding right now trying to brake, because obviously you don't want to run into people. So currently we are hitting 26 mile an hour downhill. And no, I haven't used anything yet, so don't worry about that. Just trying to get the base of it going. So 26 mile an hour downhill. I will check in a bit with the phone saying, I relate that probably in a, I don't know, one of those bubble things. So I'm getting low on the tuck because we are picking up speed. We're now hitting 31 mile an hour. It's maxing out at 31 mile an hour. I'm not picking up any more speed. That ain't bad, but that's the speed of the board itself. With the belts on, it seems to create this drag that's almost, you know, the amount of speed you can actually get. So I'm assuming if I press the control, I won't gain any more speed any which way. But having brakes is a godsend. I'm telling you, I've had sheep come out of nowhere. We're picking up speed. Actually, we're going a lot faster now. We're at 34. 34 we're going now. Dropping lower into the tuck. Those bits of gravel coming up, I'm going to brake here, simply because I know what they do. Yeah, okay, past that. But this is the way it goes back uphill slightly, so I'll be slowing down anyway. So yeah, on that last section, we hit 34 mile an hour. A bit faster than the board can go, stating without the control and everything else. That was just freewheeling all the way down. I did not use the control to accelerate. I'm using the bit now because, as I said, this board has too much drag on it. Couldn't get it to go any faster. There is a hell of a lot of a steep part coming up. But this is where, if I'm cruising with a normal longboard, I'd still be hitting about 30 mile an hour because it's just free moving, it just flies. It will continue going. We're going to start going a bit back downhill again. So again, not using the control for anything but brakes because it's so good having brakes. I can't stress this enough. Also, being on double kingpins, you can weave in and out without any problems. Even at speed, I've had to weave to dodge some holes and a sheep. Not today, but if only I filmed that day, it was just horrible. You saw this sheep coming from a mile away, and he was determined to be right in my way at the time I was in the middle of the road. Anyway, so we're picking up speed still, 15 mile an hour, and the board is slowing down because this is pretty much a flat spot. This right here is flat. And we're coming pretty much to a stop here, simply because the board slows itself down, and we've stopped. So I'm going to use the control just to get past this. On my stealth board, which is my Team GH5, it flies through this as well because it has barely any resistance. It's still not as fast as just a regular longboard, but it goes a lot faster downhill without any kind of things. Now, things like this, have we come back to that? Great, we're picking up speed. If you hit this with any board, you will go flying. I mean, you just drop right off the edge of the earth there. So yeah, brakes, perfect for that. This is the part now that has the speed bumps. There was once a time where there were no speed bumps on this road, and it was a perfect downhill, either bike, longboard, whatever you want to go downhill on. But for some unknown reason to anybody in life, they put speed bumps on it. So when you're picking up a decent amount of speed, you just hit one of those bad boys and you will go flying. We're picking up speed again, but there's no point because you're going to hit a speed bump every time, and this really ruins all the experience I've had on these hills. On a normal downhill run, it does go quite steep as you go all the way around the corner. I'd say the second part of this hill, which is over there, you will be at almost a 27% gradient, so it's quite steep. Nothing more to it than that. You just got to basically hope you don't die. And you know, hand never run out. But before they've changed it all, this was an area that you could come down and you could pick up a ridiculous amount of speed. You'd be hitting at least 60 miles an hour going down this part of the hill, because without anything to stop you, like speed bumps or belts or anything like that, you just continue to gain speed. And this is quite steep. This is the steepest part, and with the double kingpins, you get around this corner without any problems. You don't need to slide, you can just lean into it. But I'm going to brake here, heavily braking. I know it might not seem fast on camera, but at that point we were already at 32. And it was just 2 seconds. Going again, you'll literally up to 32 again, 33, braking, speed bump. I could go wrong, but you're probably going to come off. Yeah, so you get some good and some bad with it. Another speed bump. So from memory, that's all I got now of it. From memory, as I said, when you be hitting this part, you want you to slide on the corner, and you would definitely be into about 60 miles an hour. So it does really well on an uphill and a downhill, but even down something this steep, you still end up hitting like a maximum speed wall with the belts on of around 40. I've never made it go over 40 on even the steepest hills. So, you know, something to be said about the actual belt drive itself. And here you go. This is the reason why you need brakes. Hiya. Huh? Yeah. So yeah, uphill, 20 mile an hour. We're doing 30 in the lower half, but that's less incline. So now we're going to take this properly off-roading. Seen lots of videos people doing some light ass, like you know, little potholes, little bumps. We're properly off-roading today. I'm intentionally going slow because it is very bad. It's going to get worse. But it's doing it without a problem. So this is the kind of terrain that gets a bit sticky for most, and they'd rather not try it. But I can tell you the board will do this. If you've got enough balance and coordination to kind of choose your path and go over at just the right angle, you won't be thrown often. I won't say not at all, but the board will handle all this kind of stuff, including potholes, little bumps and nicks in the road, all this kind of uneven road balance. It's good for it. Some light water like that, yes, you'll handle it. I'll also show you what you'll never handle. So we're coming up to another patch where these are the ones that normally take me out. So let's kind of get that on film here so you can see just how violent the board reacts to these type of bumps. So remember, these are the 150 wheels. That bump or cobbly path there is more than enough to take you off the board. Now, I filmed this earlier, but I didn't really get it that well documented, so just give you an idea what you're looking at. I've done this quite a few times. When I've covered the whole this path on the board, yes, you will come off it a few times. It's just being not strapped to it. You can't jump it, you can't lift your foot, you can't correct yourself. It's like when you stumble. If you kind of stumble, you just catch yourself and carry on. With this, as soon as you hit a bump at the front, two things are going to happen. One, your foot's going to lift off and it's going to replant itself somewhere on the board. Now, I showed you earlier how violent the stones can be, and when you're going a bit faster and your foot does that bit where it flies off and comes back down, you sometimes come back down on the edge, and before I put this grip tape on the edge, my foot will just shoot off the side. That is quite slippery. Good God, the amount of times I flew off it. But when you're bouncing around, your feet's doing all this and you're trying to stable yourself on the board, it becomes near impossible to stay on. The best thing you can do for yourself is just jump off. Otherwise, you are going to fall. You're definitely going to fall. If you were strapped onto the board, even if you had just one binding holding your front leg down, you could then lift your foot and lift the board and correct yourself, which is one thing I'd say the Trumpers got going for it, and a few other boards that do that. But to fall attached to it, I mean, look at that, look at that. Imagine going head first into that puddle after come off the board. Not fun, not fun. Now, that is a drop. I mean, yes, you can avoid puddles and things, but as we get further along this course, it becomes unavoidable. So, the clearance of the board is quite good. When you hit a pothole that big, and you come up against rocks that thick, at some points you'll be either clipping the kingpins or you'll be hitting the motors. So you got to really be watching out for stuff like that and don't go directly over, because never mind the wheels going over it, the board's going to get hooks at some point and you're going to end up wrecking the back end of the board. So there it is, Rivington Pike. These are the mountain bike trails, which I have attempted it before while not filming, and the trail's just too deep. You'll get your board stuck in and you'll end up half sideways on part of the mountain and you'll just be tipped off gently. Everything down the path is pure aggressive cobbles, and this particular board, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to make it on this board. Surely you can't stay on with that kind of amount of gravel. The bump is just too violent. The faster you go, the more violent it becomes. You get vibrated off. Simple. So I've tested it trying to get up this part of the bike path. This, I don't know if you can tell or not, but this particular part of the slope or the hill, mountain, we're going to call it, it is far too steep. It's definitely beyond 30. The board will just spin tires trying to get up it, and we are quite high now. Just over half, I say half battery now. Got the board on my shoulder because I can't physically ride up this, but it's fun to try. I'm going to try and come down, see how that works out. I've taken this board to its limit. It can't go up a steep gradient like this simply because the tires have zero traction on this surface, even without my weight on it. I'm going to try and showcase this. These are the foot tracks of where most of the bikers have come down the trails and dug these very deep trenches. So you're alright if you can manage the grassy part, and yes, it does cut through grass this high. The problem is you slide around a lot, especially in a mountain this steep. This is a mountain, this is not a hill, it's a mountain now. You kind of come down these parts, you get stuck in a gully like this, the board turns you on your side, and you just fall off into the second one next to you. So this is the trail, you just can't do it. This is this board's capable limit. So I have tried to take it up this, it wouldn't go up. I've tried to come down. Yeah, I've got stuck in that track there, and the way the board's twisted is just the way it went up one side and turned around almost completely. So I need to say I bailed out. I don't know what you could do differently to get up this. It's just impossible. But it was a good fun experience to try it out, see what it's capable of. Give you an idea of that spinning wheels thing. So this is so steep, we'll just fly it back downhill. You can't do it. What can I say about this part? Well, this was a pain trying to get this bit completed. So yeah, this is my handy way of carrying this board around when I need to get up a mountain. Chuck it on my shoulder, start trudging through the bike path. So yeah, you can pretty much see what I'm dealing with here in terms of walkway. It's quite high. There's lots of little scars in the road here from where the bikes come down. You just won't do it. This grass at this point is far too high, so you can't really get even a foothold through it. Now, never mind getting the board to go through it. If I just tilt that camera a bit more so you can see where my legs are, they're in the soup, man. It's a bit boggy as well, so I had zero chance getting anywhere with this board today, at least up here, or any day. But it was a good experiment to see the exact limit I can get with this board. I wanted to do this when I had the tramper tires on, but this is like my test before taking it out against the guys who's actually got trampers. So again, I don't know what this looks like in terms of, you know, clarity, to give you an idea. This is a ridiculously steep mountain, I tell you no lie. It still gets steeper further up. You're not going to travel it on this. As I said, you can get down it with it. It's quite fun to do that. I mean, if I wanted to, I could just flip this around now, stick in the tall grass, press go, and we would get somewhere. Well, it's not heavy on its own. When my body weight's on it, it will travel through it, but it's so thick. Further down, it's not as thick. This is like the top ridge. When you drop over that ridge there, it gets a bit easier, but it's a bit of a steep drop. As you can see, the mountain's disappearing because I'm going to go up this incline. It's quite steep. So, lesson learned. You cannot climb a full mountain with this board. You can go up some really steep hills, really steep, but it will not get up this. Even if you had traction, it'd stop dead. And I don't advise you to keep pressing the trigger once it comes to a dead stop because you burn the motors. Oh man, I am proper flagging now. You know what? I'm going to stop filming for a bit. So now at the top, there is in the distance where we came from. It's quite far away, trust me. Because I had to come the long way, all the way down past that whole little village, all the way up that road. By the way, there is why I filmed the stream earlier. All the cobbly parts coming back up past all that. This is the steepest part of the incline here, and just drops off into a bit of an abyss. And yeah, there's the tower. We're at it, done it, we're here. Lycaon on board. It didn't quite make the top bit, but there is a road that we're going to go down the other side. It's a full cobbly path, it gets worse halfway down. See if I can showcase that a bit. It won't do loose gravel well, not with these wheels at least. They are spinning, so that means they got enough power to still get you through it, but they won't do it. So we just came off that edge there. It's quite a steep decline, but we found this extra offside. So we're at half battery now. We've covered 7 something miles on there. 7 miles. What can I say about that? Yeah, it's done it. It won't do the top end. So we're going to go down. Now look, there's those speed bumps we came across earlier. They're a bit less of an issue down this way. Back to the heavy cobbles. And when I say heavy cobbles, I showed you earlier that rock on the first side of the hill. They are that size. I kid you not. Please stop. They aren't your small garden furniture rocks. I mean, you are dealing with some quite significantly sized rocks here. So this isn't a small feat. I just make it look like that. Yes, you can be thrown from the board still. Yes, there's some speed bumps. I'm going to demonstrate those because we're going down this way. What else can I say about that? Nothing much. Been out for a good hour and a half now. Yeah, so I'm going to try and pick up a bit of speed here, but if I bail heavily, you won't see it on camera. Oh god, there we go. See, the board's vibrating quite a bit now, and my footing is becoming quite loose because it's being lifted off and put back on. So every time I go over something a bit bigger than the wheel, I've got to recorrect my footing. Now I'm going to try to go on the side here because it's easier, but as soon as you catch one of those bigger rocks, your board will be all over the place. So anything I'd say over 20 miles an hour, you will come off. Oh god, see, there we go. There we go. Again, it's those relatively big ones you got to watch out for. That's the one that got my wheel just then. It literally, once you plop up on top of something that big, you lift it, you're bouncing. When you bounce, as I said, your foot goes off the side, and the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to bounce off to the outside and your foot's going to go there, right in that gap, and you're going to get trapped like this. Toes get trapped in the wheel, foot gets trapped in that edge, and it's going to fling you in front of the board. That'll break your ankle really, but you know, I think I've got decent ankles. Just saying. There's the bit of the pipe you can still kind of see. There's that side of the face I was going to come down, but it was far too slippery. So again, this board can do a lot. It's not, shall we say, a high-end mountain board. You can take it on the mountain. I can guarantee you'll go on a mountain. If you're just doing dirt parts and, you know, smaller rocks, you'll have a fun day. You'll have no issue getting this board around. Just so we're clear, there's a level of off-road that I don't think any board's going to do, and this is probably it. You're literally jumping down. Yeah, you're not going to make this one. You're not going to make this. This is why I decided to walk. Simply because you will probably die here.